Well, hello, everybody. It is Wednesday. That's what they tell me. It is 8 p.m. Back to our regularly scheduled program. Uh, I love Jane so much, but there's a huge time zone jump that had to be made. We had a blast last week. If you hadn't noticed, today on the Facebook page we announced about 5 million different people all in one sitting. We have Billy and Richard Chismar got announced. Dan Franklin's coming to play. Who else got announced on there? Oh, we're doing our movie screenings. Man, the amount of stuff that got announced today was absolutely fantastic. So really excited. Hopefully you guys grab some tickets and come on down to Frightreads and check some of these special people out that are going through that little queue over and over and over and over, which I believe needs to be updated. I'll take care of that soon. But for the time being, we do have some super awesome guests. If anybody doesn't know, I like ghosts. Hint, hint, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. I'm super into Ghostbusters. I'm into ghost hunting. I've been on several hunts myself with various assorted teams. Mobtown Paranormal, who I don't think is a group anymore. We actually have one of our staff members was one of their former team members. So I've gotten to do a bunch of cool stuff, and I'm absolutely obsessed with anything ghost hunting, anything that involves exploring creepy old places and asking, "Is anyone in here with us?" And you get a guttural yes. I'm totally into all that stuff. So when I was approached to have some awesome people, I don't think I hesitated. Uh, so I'd love to bring on Rob and Sara from Get Haunted. And there they are. Yay, it works. How you guys doing?
Good. How are you?
I am great. I love ghosts and ghost busting if it's not apparent. This
We
is
see
this is
that.
my
Do.
comfort zone.
Yeah, we try not to bust them, but we definitely take people out looking for them. But
Well, Ghostbusters started initially, they weren't busting them, they were just investigating their existence.
right.
They were trying to find concrete evidence, and that's where the sci-fi end took over. And they said, "I think I have enough readings that we can contain one." And that's when it got goofy, and we took a hard left turn there. But everything up until they were trying to get EVP, they were trying to get all these things, video evidence,
Yeah.
different readings and meters to spike.
Yeah.
That all that part was the most legitimate ghost hunting thing that happened, and that's where you guys live, is in that world.
Each and every day. Yeah, that's the truth.
So
That
I
is
live in the fictional world with the Ghostbusters, the proton packs and stuff, but I absolutely love what people in your field do.
Mm.
It's almost like watching the tornado chasers, all of that. Everybody's got their niche, but much like a tornado chaser dives in front of a tornado to get good video, pictures, readings, you guys are diving into haunted houses, creepy basements, old mansions, insane asylums, whatever comes around, and putting yourself in utter darkness and asking, "Is anyone else here with me?" So why? That's the first question. Why?
oof, the why. Sarah, do you want to go first? You want me to go first?
Well, I mean, the way he's describing it just
I
sounds
know.
so exciting, and I don't know if I think I feel like that's such a small part of it, right? Like you're sort of going into when people go out physically to do this stuff, and I get that part, but there is so much more to what we do that is actually outside of those locations, I think, and that is truly kind of digging and researching into thoughts and theories, right? Trying to learn as much as you can because the paranormal itself is so diverse, right? There, like you kind of said, you find your niche in this, and there are so many people that have different thoughts on what it truly is that's going on. And I think if you don't listen to all of that, whether you like to hear it or not, right? If you don't listen to all of it, you're not going to get the bigger picture of what could truly be going on. So I feel like we don't do as much investigating, Rob, as we do
Yeah, the truth
really the
is,
conversations.
yeah, like in going out on so during our peak season, right, which is pretty much February through October, November, it's every other weekend. Then we go into what I call the dark months. So for people that don't know, we're not we're a company, we're a legit LLC. But we're not just an event company or a team, right? We are a community. Um, I kind of dreamt up the idea of Get Haunted while I was doing public events for another company years ago. Um, and I noticed, and I'm sure this is not limited to just the paranormal field, but in different fields, but especially in this field, what I noticed was that there's so many talented people out there, and they were all kind of working in silos, and it was very hard to go out. Like right now, Harry, if you ran out and said, "Hey, I want to get on a team," it's not that easy. People are
No.
very, they're very close knit, or they don't want to bring somebody new, or you don't have enough experience, or you don't have enough this, or you don't have enough that. So for me, it was challenging. I tried, and I'm like, I just want to get on a team here. And why are these silos there? Because we have incredibly talented peoples. So as much as everybody doesn't talk about the paranormal, almost
Mm.
everybody has a story, right? They're all like, well, I don't really believe in ghosts, but I had this weird thing happen, and they'll tell you a story. Um, and especially in this country, it seems like still a little weird to talk about for some people. But the point I was making was we have lawyers, we have video, editors, we have authors, we have really brilliant people out there that do have an interest in the paranormal,
Yeah.
and they either don't
An
have the
entire
time or don't know.
organization.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So how
Yeah.
do we get everybody working together? And that was sort of, the vision I had for Get Haunted and initially, and I didn't know Sarah yet. So just based on observations from what I had seen in the field. So I was like, how do we build a place where people can come? Because I guess the paranormal is so there's so many different viewpoints and belief systems and things that come into play
Yeah.
that can absolutely 100% affect your experience. But how do we get those people talking? And how do we get them investigating together? And how do we learn from each other? There's a lot of people out there that are like, think they know everything already. One of our first events that we ever did where we brought in another team was we brought in a team of deaf investigators, a bunch of beautiful women from New England. Name of
Mm.
their group was Silence Paranormal. For
Oh,
me, I
wow.
don't know how they
Okay.
do it, right? I do
Yeah.
not like not being able to hear. But they came in and we did a bunch of experiments, and one of them was the Estes method, where they were trying to communicate via sign language,
Hmm.
and we were getting responses, right? And I'm like, wait a
Huh.
minute. So either we stumbled upon, right, the one ghost in Hudson Valley, New York, that actually could see and understand sign language, or there's something bigger, almost something more universal.
Yeah.
Um, but the whole concept of Get Haunted is to bring people together, and we use our public events that anybody can buy tickets and come to, sort of as a way to connect with the community that, and I'm gonna say it, Sarah has really put together. Sarah's got a way of interacting with the community that I just can't do. So she's amazing, and she's an amazing investigator. But it's about building relationships, getting teams started, getting people to share ideas that maybe are not widely accepted. That's really what Get Haunted is all about. Um, that, and I make a lot of merch for people. So,
Got,
so yeah,
gotta love the merch.
gotta love merch.
Yeah.
Um,
It's always good to have a good logo that you can, as you're wearing on
Mhm.
your head. It's always good to have a good
you
logo
need it, and
you can
everybody,
flaunt.
and Sarah will tell you, like everybody should have a brand that they're pushing out there. You just get your name out there, get noticed. That's really what it's
Yeah.
all about.
What?
Oh,
That's a great origin story of, how, you know, how do you become Get Haunted? I mean, you just found a bunch of multifaceted people and just smashed it all together, and here we are. let's, and that was so
was
fascinating.
not quite that easy,
No,
Harry.
I
Oh,
wish it was.
sure it was. It all just perfectly worked out. To anybody
That's right.
watching, it always just perfectly works out.
That's
Just
right.
like anything.
It
A
worked out.
beautiful plan always works.
Exactly. It did work out exactly how it should have. I believe that, right? But prior to about 2008, I wasn't a ghost hunter guy. I'd watch the shows. I didn't really
Yeah.
disbelieve, but I really, as far as I knew at that point, or as far as I could remember, I really didn't have a big paranormal experience. Later, in this journey, Sarah's helped bring me back to figure out some other things that I was like, okay, now that's maybe some of that makes sense. But when my dad passed away in 2008, my daughter was a little over 2 years old. That was his only granddaughter, and they loved each other. He lived with us. He was very sick. That was her best friend. And when he checked out, my kid knew it, right? I don't know how. We vowed, my ex-wife and I were like, nope, we're not telling her. How do you tell a 2.5-year-old this story? But she knew. And to the point where it was like movie and book material. I came home that day and she started crying for no reason. She said we couldn't eat dinner because grandpa was coming to say goodbye. And I was creeped out. I'm telling you the truth.
Oh yeah. That's
Um,
weird.
and then I got her calmed down. About 10, 15 minutes later, she's like, we can eat now. I looked at her from across the kitchen. I was like, why? She's like, grandpa said goodbye. Okay. Then really weird things started happening in the house. We had to wake in the funeral and all the distractions in life
Yeah.
that help you not notice weird things. But then it got weird. And that's really what sparked my interest and got me going out and trying to find a team, because I'm like, number one, I want to know if this is my dad. I'm hoping it's him, but you
Yeah.
don't know. And
You
number
never know.
two is why. And for 24 years, pretty much up until that point and a little bit after, I was in a very technical day job with a big corporate Japanese company. My job was in competitive analysis, so I would take competitive hardware, software, reverse engineer it, bring that information to the engineers in Japan, tell them why we sucked, and then have to take that same information, turn it into marketing material to tell our American salespeople why we were awesome, right? And how to sell against the competitors. So I lived in a very fact-based, got to prove everything world. And all of a sudden I'm seeing shadows and boxes are moving and my daughter's drawing weird pictures, and I'm like, what the hell is happening right now? That's really what started my journey.
That's wild. So I I'm sure you guys have come across it if you watch all the TV shows with the ghost hunting stuff.
Yeah.
BuzzFeed, when they did it was the two guys, and one's super skeptical, and the other guy is just scared of everything that moves.
That's me.
So the guy Shane, the super skeptic who tap danced on the Goatman Bridge and said, "Come get me, Goatman, I'm on your bridge." That's me. I'm 100%. I am the worst to take on a haunt because nothing phases me.
Yeah.
So we got invited with the Charm City Ghostbusters got pulled into an event at the Lord Baltimore Hotel.
Yeah.
Highly recommended if you guys haven't.
Yeah,
there.
we did it for the last couple of years for World's Largest Ghost Hunt League over there. We
Nice.
host their World's Largest Ghost Hunt event last couple of years now.
Yeah, but for anybody that hasn't gone, it's a beautiful, probably 100-plus-year-old hotel. That classic, late 1800, early 1900 construction.
Yeah.
We did a haunt investigation there. We were just the arm candy. We were wearing the proton packs and everything. We heard some cool stories. Every bartender and every staff member had a cool story, and that's what they were to me. I was like, yeah, okay, whatever, that's neat. We went to the basement to do an investigation with a Skelter box, which is like a ghost box, but with Charles Manson turned backwards, to add even more unsettling noises to you. the concept isn't scary. It's the eeriness of just Charles Manson, like, reversed. It just sounds weird.
Yeah.
So they were doing that, and I, against my buddy Steve, who was in the other ghost hunting group, against his best wishes, he said, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I'm wandering by myself." And I did. I'm that guy. I'm like, whatever, dude. And I'm even walking down the hallway. I'm like, I have a 60-pound proton pack on my back. I am literally unable to do anything about this. If this is it, this is your time. Come do it. And I walk into this big, huge warehousey type of room that's downstairs. Just kind of walking around. There's like a hum of a generator, maybe the AC unit, something. I'm like, all right, cool, cool. And I'm just kind of standing there like, oh, this kind of sucks for a ghost hunt. This loud bang happened. I turned around. I'm screaming. The cleaning lady who just closed the big, huge, like, industrial washing machine is screaming. The ghost is screaming. I mean, everybody is just. We scared each other, but honestly, it was nothing very eventful.
Yeah.
And then we kind of went back to the ballroom, and we wrapped up. But that's where it got weird. So this is my experience into the where I started kind of raising an eyebrow and going, maybe there's something.
Yeah.
So we actually several years ago lost one of our Ghostbuster members, David. He tragically left us, and it was a little bit before we did this event. And I mean, we were making the jokes like, dude, David would have loved to have been in here. He'd have killed to be in this place. And he always jokingly said he would haunt the place because he thought it was just such beautiful architecture. I went up and talked to their medium, and I said, hey, just out of curiosity, we were using one of the devices, one of the dictionary library tools that you can pull up words, and it pulled up a couple of specific words. The first word, because I said I want you to go over there, and she's pulling out words from the spirit box, and I said, I want you to go on the spirit box. I want you to articulate an obscenity, a genital name, something. I want her to have to write penis, nutsack, something. And I said, I want this poor nice old lady to have to write something, and that'll just bring me joy. So if you can do that for me, if you're haunting this place, David, we're just kind of like throwing it into the void. And Steve's little tool came up, and it said nuts. And I said, nuts? No, not here, dummy, over there. What are you doing to me? We don't want it over here. And then he said, well, that's a good response. That's a reactive response. He says, we need a follow-up. And I was like, if you're really David, give me a clue that it is really you. And the next thing it came up with was British, which sounds really, really like, okay, cool. You're just pulling up words out of the dictionary. David was from Great Britain. Okay. And that is a very key, like, where I think the two of us kind of went, oh. So we went over to the medium. We let her know that we were over there playing Ghost Hunt the Home game in the corner. Hope that didn't mess up your thing. And I said, yeah, we were getting a few hits. One of our members passed away not long ago, and he always said jokingly that he would haunt this place. So we were over there doing our thing, and sure enough, we got a couple of weird hits. She said, I did sense a newer spirit. Did your friend hang himself? And I was just like, boy, that's oddly specific. You could have said car, old age, colon cancer, which is apparently taking everybody. I mean, like, you could have picked anything out of the air. And she said she was feeling a little bit of tightness around the neck and a lot of remorse. And we had this like moment. Well, then it got even weirder. So we go and we try to hunt through. We borrowed some of their toys and started, finding that they had really good Wi-Fi on 3 or 4 of the floors.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We gave up, and we all hung around till like, I think 1 o'clock in the morning. We all scooted out, and one of our guys, Ross, stayed behind with his son. And when he was staying behind with his son, we got a text message, and he tells us he was just so enthralled with it, and his kid was just over the moon with it, and they just needed to ask all the questions. Well, we got to talking to the other medium who could kind of visualize things. One lady, she could feel things. She was an empath, I guess, and then the other one could kind of see things and visualize a few things. I don't know. Again, this is me just going, sure, why not? I'll take your word for it. The lady that could see and visualize things was walking around the top balcony of the ballroom, and she said that she saw a nice gentleman that kept watching, like his attention was focused on the Ghostbusters. When we were clustered together, 3 or 4 or more, he was always vividly watching us. And Ross said, "Well, what did he look like?" Like, well, he was very well dressed in a suit. That's all I can really. He was middle aged, had a suit. Just look. He didn't look like he belonged from the older time. It looked like he looked more modern, but with a nice suit. Ross pulls up a picture of David dressed as Doctor Who, which was one of his favorite costumes, and said, "Did he look like this?" And the lady about fell over.
Wow.
Like the old saying, like she'd seen a ghost.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's my weirdest, most impactful moment, which kind of made me kind of start to raise an eyebrow to, you see the TV shows and they're always going, "Oh, you feel that?" I'm like, no, I didn't. I'm watching the TV, dummy. I didn't feel anything. But to actually have a moment that makes you kind of raise your eyebrow, it's amazing what can shift your entire structure.
Oh, yeah.
And Sarah, I'm sure you have a story that thrusted you into the paranormal world too, or just
Not really anything like how you guys are describing it. I this question gets asked a lot, and I feel like how I answer it isn't 100% honest, but I just think it's something that is truly a part of our curiosity. I think we're born with it. And for me, I have older sisters, 10 and 7 years older. So when you're 6 and your oldest sister is 16, you're watching movies you shouldn't, right? Children shouldn't play with dead things, Night of the Living Dead, Evil Dead, like all the things you're not supposed to really watch.
Yeah.
So I think I liked that adrenaline rush. I must have. I don't know that I really knew that back then. But my mom was more on the spiritual side. She loved astrology, numerology, psychic mediums, angels, right? So I go to psychic fairs with my mom. So I think it was just something that, maybe I was introduced to it in different forms by my sisters and my mom. My dad didn't really have a say in any of it, right? His thing was just like whatever. He was just like a
Oh, she's frozen.
very non-opinionated person. I think for me, I think it's just as you get older, just through life, I don't know. I just think it was something I was doing. I really have been thinking about this question a lot because we've been asked a few times on shows, and I don't have that. Was I in a haunted house as a kid? I don't know. I don't recall any one story, but I do think it's something that I am just led to sort of want to explore.
That's always interesting to have people with like drastically different origin stories end up on the same, superhero team, so to speak.
Yeah.
Like
I mean,
Damien kind of asked a wild one right here. I left it up because I thought it was kind of cool. Do you think that there was forces beyond human control, whether it be from the other side or what have you, that maybe played a part to push your team together? Do you think that something more?
Yeah, it is quite a story, and another viewer on the side has made some comments that also kind of line up with that. Yeah, so I did have some things happen. Like how I ever even started talking to Sarah was interesting enough, right? Because there's weird numerology associated with it, but had spent 11 nights in a very famous haunted house in Rhode Island. And a lot of weird things started happening to me. And I started spiraling pretty quickly. Things started happening at home. I have videos. My dog was getting kicked around. Lost that really great job I was telling you about, and which surprised the whole world, actually.
So you had something more or less kind of follow.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah.
It's
My buddy Steve
probably
had something similar, and
yeah.
there was
And
just
my
this
ex,
weight on him.
yeah, this my ex-wife hated this stuff. It just put a massive strain on everything. And there was,
Yeah.
so I went on Sarah's show on 12/22 of 2021. I didn't even want to, right? And I wasn't supposed
Yeah.
to, but a friend of ours, a guy that I was working with early on, had set up to be on Sarah's show earlier that year, 222 days earlier. That he had reached out to Sarah to be on her show that December. And Get Haunted was born, in between that time. So he reached out and he's like, "Hey, why don't you come on Paranormally Blonde with me? We'll pitch Get Haunted." So I did, and started pitching with the concept and the notion of it, and it resonated with Sarah for a lot of the same reasons that I wanted to create it.
Yeah.
Fast forward, and she had interacted a little bit on our network. She ended up buying a hoodie, all these things. But on 2/2 of 2022, I woke up that morning. Life was not good. Took a shower. Um, I was getting my socks out of the drawer, and when I pulled that socks, like the handle of my pistol head flashed. Right, I could see it. My dog was still little in his crate, and there was a voice. Man, like there was an actual real voice. My dog reacted to it, and
Yeah.
it said, "Grab the gun." I knew what it meant. It's not who I am, but it wasn't the worst option in the world for about a hot second, and then I like
Yeah.
snapped out of it. I'm like, "What the f?" So I looked at Leo,
Yeah.
my dog. I'm like, "Dude, we're burning, like, we're burning this place down." Got myself together.
Yeah.
I sat on that couch for a little while, and there was, I'm telling you, something else said, "Reach out to Sarah." So, and I don't know her really well at that point. We spoke maybe what? We never spoke, just on
No.
your show.
Mhm.
So I messaged her and I was like, "Hey, um, did I ever tell you my story?" And that was the beginning of a long conversation, um, where Sarah asked me some really crazy questions that uh, she shouldn't have known to ask me. Let's put it that way. Sarah will never call herself a psychic or anything. She's a knower. She just knows things, right? So she asked me all these questions,
Hmm.
and I'm like, "The hell is she even like? These are weird questions."
Yeah.
And at the end of that conversation, she had to go, and she was like, "Hey, Rob, did you ever stop and think that maybe those demons you're fighting belong to you?"
Hmm.
Which was a really weird statement, but I was like, huh. All right. So we hung up. She said, "I'll talk to you." We hung up, and I started thinking about that. And I was like, it just clicked. I was like, oh my God. So I grabbed, because I kept a journal of all of these, and they were big experiences and they were real. I'm telling you. And people witnessed them. And I have photos that would blow your mind. Right.
Yeah.
Um, But I went to the journal and I'm like, okay, first experience that I had documented for myself. I never, I could write a book. I haven't. Um, I'm like, it tied to one of her questions. And it, like, literally all the way back to 8 years old, man. Like, I'm not kidding. She's like, what happened at 8?
Yeah.
And then when there were elements of this experience that tied directly to this thing that happened at 8, then another question tied to another. And
So stuff's just linking up,
I'm
and
like, what?
wow. Okay.
So the person, and this wasn't like just like in 2 hours I had it all sorted out. This took me months to work through. But in all reality, all of these terrible things that this house did to me were actually healing me and fixing me. And it was like that house said, "Hey, Rob, here's all the shit you got to work on, whether you like
Yeah.
it or not." Right? My $160,000 a year job, I hated it. I drove 2.5 hours to get there. I live in PA. I was working in North Jersey. I never had a life. I was just
Yeah.
working to live the status quo. So anyway, the job went away. I was in a tough marriage for a long time. That goes away. All these things. They ate the thing from 8 years old. I was reminded of every year. and I lived with it for a long time.
Yeah.
Thought I had healed from it. So all of these prior traumas became all of a sudden something I had to deal with. And my whole life pretty much was turned upside down and stripped down to learning just how to live again. So, this lady right here, quite literally saved my life, man.
Wow.
And she had no way of knowing any of this stuff. So that became, it went from, front loading, and things can be really terrifying when all we know are the movies and the books, right? And then you get in there and something happens and you're like, oh my God, that must be a demon. This place is supposed to be one of the most haunted places in the world. And I think it is. It's just not what everybody thinks it is, right? There was this
Yeah.
very powerful spiritual thing that really kind of came through. I'm not saying there's not something mean there, because there were. I've seen some weird shit.
Oh
But
yeah.
if we go in front loaded like that with these stories, everything that happens, anything that happens can be scary. When I think and believe in it, quite honestly, it's probably a better way to look at it is that house was trying to help me and it wasn't trying to hurt me. And it did. It changed my life. It helped me get haunted going. Then I was, we were in business for a couple months before I asked Sara. Sara came on as social media manager. Well, she sent me an email. She was like, "Hey, you suck at social media." She's like, "I'm your social media manager now." I was like, "All right." And then a few
There you
months
go.
later, she had pitched a bunch of different ideas, and she was growing the page and the business for me. I was like, can you just please be my business partner, because I can't do this alone. So that's how that happened. But
Oh.
so to me, the paranormal, and thank you again for the millionth time, Sara, has become more than just a ghost story or the history tied to a specific building on a location. And forgive me, Ferenc, Gregor.
Yeah, I was gonna say Ference. I was gonna pull.
Parents,
Geez, that's a big old comment, and it's even
yeah,
got the dot because it's not gonna fit.
but it's a
Um,
1,000,000%, I
but
believe,
but
point.
Ference is a seasoned person as well, with a lifetime of experiences, and dude's been there, done that. He probably knows half of the dark spirits.
Nice.
They know him by name.
Yeah.
May George Wendt rest in peace, but he probably walks in and they give him the norm treatment. Ference is that kind of guy. But I was kind of going to pivot to this question before we
Mhm.
switch gears to a new topic. But yeah, what it says for anybody that is on the other end of it. The comment is asking, do you feel like people are forcibly trying to get a connection? They're looking for that, like, not to say like that biblical reference, but they're looking for that like concrete, I know what a ghost looks like because Hollywood has told me what it looks like. Or should we start paying attention to like little details and the little background things and the nuances? Is that why, is that the big thing? So are people too fixated on what they've heard in Hollywood basically, or should they shift gears and be more open? Like, I mean, you really just kind of hit the nail on the head with your story.
Yeah.
You should start paying attention to the details. But what are your thoughts?
Sara, that's all you.
Well, this is such a great
It is.
statement, and not really a question, because I think you're exactly right. I think that the unfortunate part is this, too many people are looking for evidence, right? And the TV shows, we don't stop and just go, that's an entertainment thing, right? Like we're watching these TV shows, they have to make money for the network. We all know if you're out there investigating, you're just not getting a lot of what they're getting on TV, and that's okay. So yeah, I think that we focus on the evidence and we don't give enough credence to the experience, and the experience is a lot. There's a lot of personal things connected to that. Am I frozen?
You were for
You
a
were
second.
for a second, but I was like, oh, she
Okay.
froze. I bet it was going to be
Yeah,
something
it's
great.
always on the crescendo every time.
Every
I think
time.
she
I'm trying
shares an
not to make
internet connection with Brian.
The most
I
important
do.
thing to remember is this: don't.
Exactly.
Oh no! Oh
Um,
no! Don't do what? Don't what?
but it is. I think that so many people try to. imitate,
Yeah.
you try to imitate the YouTubers and the TV celebrity, reality stars out there. And in the meantime, we're so focused on that side. I think that we're really supposed to be focused on the living side, because I think
Yeah.
that's the stuff you can truly, right? You can truly prove. And I think the other pieces aren't meant to be put out there to be picked apart, because there are a lot of personal experiences, kind of, Harry, like your story that you shared, right? There was a
Yeah.
really deep personal experience there, and that is for no one else to tell you that it was, it's just crap. That wasn't even what you think it was. That's
I'm the
because
one
there's so
that says that. So
yeah, right, right. So
yeah, and if I'm
I
going, huh? Yeah.
I think that, that I think if most people and I hope that is something that Rob and I feel like we've really worked hard at that, or I've really, maybe Rob was already there, but for myself with the Get Haunted events, we're there as experiencers, but encouragers of those experiences for others. You want people to stop and don't just wait for something to beep, or don't just wait for a door to open or a knock, right? Those are things that you can ask for. But what else is going on? Do you have thoughts that don't belong to you? Is something just coming to you, a memory coming to you that you don't even know? Why is that memory coming to play?
Yeah.
Like maybe there's something trying to connect, right? So I love what he's saying here, because I do think we try too hard, and I know I've been guilty of that. And don't try to imitate. Don't try to imitate somebody that you like or respect in the field. Try to be in your moment with what is trying to connect with you, because it's going to be different for everyone.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah.
absolutely.
Just be
And
you.
you know, Harry, me, you, Sarah, friends, we could all go to we could probably go to McDonald's together and investigate and have an experience. I do believe I am one of the people that believes that you sort of become the beacon, right? I have a hard time thinking that these mystical, all powerful ghosts are trapped in a room on the third floor of a mansion and they just can't leave. Right. To
Yeah.
me, that just it doesn't make a lot of sense. And at the same time, if we went to McDonald's and got something, we all four of us may perceive it very differently, for
Yeah.
the very reasons that Sarah and friends just talked about, right? And so, is the paranormal this custom tailored, universal way of giving you a message, or what? Like that for me is the bigger question for me, and I know for Sarah and for a lot of our friends, it's no longer a matter of if, right? It's why.
Yeah.
Why have these things happened? Now, that doesn't take away from the other kind of stories that are out. I do believe there are stories of specific souls or ghosts or whatever you want to call them that are in a
Yeah.
residual loop or something in certain locations, right? All stories come from somewhere, but there's also more. There's more. And,
Yeah.
as friends stated, if you stop trying so hard, if you just learn to look, pay attention a little bit more, um, I think this stuff happens way more than people think. Hey, Denise. Um, and Denise, perfect example, right? God wasn't like the biggest Bigfoot believer in her, right? But Denise and Ernie, and they took both of us, Sarah and I, on a couple of adventures, and I witnessed something I'll never forget or be able to explain to anybody. Uh,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and it wasn't so much because we were looking for it. It allowed us to see it because it happened when we weren't trying so hard. So yeah, man, this is fun.
Yeah.
But this is
So
how our events are. Just so you understand, like, so when we go on an event, there we bring all the gear and all the equipment and all the toys and the gizmos, um, because that's what people want to use because they do
yeah.
see it on TV. But we always have at least one rotation that's more of a spiritual type rotation where we're going to sit there and we're going to just be with the building and let the building do the work, let the spirit do the work, and see what happens. And it's just cool. So people can walk out of our events going, you know what, that worked for me, or that didn't work
Mhm.
for me, and it's how we've kind of built up a bunch of loyal people that join us on our events.
And you're bringing up events, and there's one coming up, and I'm gonna pull up some images here before we shift gears into it. So we have, let me see if this all comes out right. Let's see, how do we get all of us with that? There we are.
Oh.
So there's author Brian Paone at a very specific prison, Missouri State Pen. There's a little something happening with Brian and you guys coming up.
Yeah.
Which is going to be super awesome. Let me see if I can get the other picture to cooperate here. Let's see. Got it up here.
That's a great one.
There's Brian hanging out in very spooky room there. Nice and red and creepy. So what's really cool is I know you guys know the backstory, and he's actually brought it up several other times when I've had him on in the past. He happened to be out for just a standard work function. It wasn't like he was out going to this penitentiary, going to do a ghost hunt. He was out doing a work function and saw, I don't know, a Facebook event, whatever it happened to be. He just Googled fun crap to do near me. And the Missouri State Pen came up, and you guys there were ghost tours happening. There was a bunch of stuff going on at that exact moment in time. And somehow or another, he got linked up with your team, and he pulled out this idea that became a book that is coming soon, which we're going to get to as well. Let's see if I can get this to cooperate here. These Walls Still Talk, which if you look, it's a Get Haunted Tale for anybody that's viewing. It says it right at the top, Get Haunted Tale. This is the Get Haunted we speak of. So it's a really cool book because, and we'll get into the actual intricacies of These Walls Still Talk in a few seconds, but this book was written on location at the Missouri State Pen. Brian sat in some of the creepiest, darkest, nastiest, gnarliest hallways you could think of and took notes, tapped away on a keyboard, whatever he was doing. And I keep making the joke. He's like, I did it all alone in a cell. And I was like, buddy, you were not alone.
Yeah, he called me a couple times from these cells. He was scared. Don't let him lie to you.
He was scared. He can't even defend himself. Look at that. Poor fella. He was all scared. Can't even defend himself. Thank goodness he can't get in here. Oh, no. Oh, no. Is that Brian? Oh, no.
How'd you get that hat?
So you get Haunted Santa hat because we were talking about merch.
Where did you get that, though? When were you at something that you could get a hat?
I'm not going to tell you that Danny gave it to me. I'm just not going to tell you that.
Oh, Danny's in trouble.
Coming in here with the merch. Yeah, we were just talking about you. It's weird that you pop right in.
I got my Santa hat on. I was waiting for Christmas.
Got the Santa hat on. We either left you hanging too long or not long enough. I don't know.
Yeah.
With the Santa hat.
So yeah,
we've discussed it 1,000,001 times, at least twice this through these video things, that you wrote a book inside of a haunted penitentiary, and you are due to write another book in a similar situation.
It's funny that you bring up the other book. Okay, so Rob here's the reveal. We've got tote bags. So funny story about that. I sent the picture that you sent me to Hannah, and I was like, hey, don't show anybody this, but we got tote bags.
Oh, that's a secret. It's my bag.
My bag. So two things. One, Denise, who popped in and said hello, that she's the owner of the inn in Kentucky that book 2 is going to be written in. Right there. Yeah. So that's so people can put that together. So yeah, book 2 is going to be written at her house, which is considered like the most haunted place in my brain.
Right now. Stupid things happen there. So and I stayed there for a couple of days, and we'll be there actually next week.
Yeah, I'll be there with you.
Between the two, we were discussing the difference between the two. So with MSP, you weren't alone. You could have been alone in that section of the building, maybe that building for a short spurt of time, but you were never alone. And at the end of the day or night, whatever, at the end of your stay, you went back to a hotel far away from the penitentiary, away from all the spooky stuff, and you got to unwind, decompress, and sit at a Denny's and think about what you saw. What is the difference with this next one?
I'm terrified because I don't get to leave. And there's Ernie. Okay, so there's Denise's husband. Who that's the team that's been tormenting me. I started a group chat, a group text message with them, and they randomly send me like gifs of like creepy children with like no eyes, and they're waiting for Uncle Brian. Like they literally to me. Look, he just wrote that kids can't wait to meet. Seriously. So their house has known for like giggling children like under beds and like crawling into bed with you while you're sleeping. I'm terrified to go there, but I'm going to be there next weekend with Rob and with Get Hunt. So if you want to plug the next weekend event.
Brian became my agent earlier today, just so you know. Like this guy. Yeah. So we have Sarah. Do you want to pitch the trifecta?
We do. Well, yes. On May 31st through June 1st, we're going to be at the Real Ditto House, 1841, for the trifecta, and that is a Bigfoot, ghost, and CE5 experience. So we not only have the Real Ditto House, but we also have Fort Duffield, which the PAX also run for events. So to be able to have both of those locations, and the Ditto House is considered the most haunted house in the state of Kentucky. And then, of course, you have Denise and Ernie, who are two of the most incredible people that you can meet, truly. But this
all weekend crying and trying to probably spoon Rob because I'm terrified of the giggling children I'm hearing from the other room.
And I'm going to be getting text messages now and then going, so what are you doing right now? Just keep my mind occupied. There's a kid laughing, and I don't know where he is.
I'll let you finish the pitch 1 second, because I do want to put out there that I'm not scared to be there next weekend because I'm going to be with all of you guys. I'm terrified when I'm going in July to write the book, and Denise and Ernie are like, Brian, you do know we go to work every day. You're going to be like, we got to leave you behind, with the salesmen and with the kids. And the kids do things while they're at work because they take pictures and send it to me of what they find when they get home. Like the kids draw on the chalkboard and crap.
Yeah.
So like I'm going to be there by myself. They're going to come home. They're going to find me on the front porch with my bag packed, wanting a ride to the airport. That's going to happen. Oh, look.
I'll be out by the mailbox.
Look what Ernie just wrote. Yeah. This is the torment that I get in all the time.
And that room is the furthest from the exit. So like, there's literally no way to run out of there.
Oh man.
Yeah.
What's the let's go back to the trifecta.
Sorry.
That's okay. The trifecta basically is an opportunity to see the connections through all of the paranormal, which do include the cryptids and the CE5, the alien activity, or UFO activity. So we're going to be working with the PAX, that's Pac-Man Paranormal, also the Black Wolf Paranormal, that's the Eskies, Todd and Leanne. Of course, the Squatch Man, Greg Yost, is going to be there to lead us on the cryptid part of this excursion, which is going to be super cool because that is talk about his niche. He has a beautiful relationship with the forest people, as he calls them, and they seem to show up every time he goes out. And then also Christopher Lee Jansen. He's going to be leading the CE5. He is a psychic medium, does amazing readings, and he'll be doing sound baths to sort of get us in the mood and call on what might be connecting, because Bigfoot and UFOs go hand in hand most of the time. So it's going to be this particular event, although it's it is a lot of investigating, so to speak. It really brings out big conversations. So it's really what this particular, Brian, you'll really get a good feel for Get Haunted, I think, at this trifecta that you've never really seen before, because it really is getting a lot of great people to get out and have big conversations that lead to bigger thoughts and theories out there. So it's gonna be a great weekend.
So the reason why, one of the reasons why I'm coming next weekend to be there with you guys during this event was because because Ernie and Denise's house is kind of a Bermuda Triangle of stuff. They even have a picture of a fairy that they caught in their backyard that she texted me, right? So we got giggling ghost kids. We've got a dead salesman who walks the kitchen in the hallway. We've got Bigfoot. We got aliens. We've got fairies. You can't make this stuff up, right? So where These Walls Still Talk is very specific to MSP and very specific to the ghosts that we find there, right? The big boy ghost is in it. All the peekers are there. I very much kept to the MSP lore, but Ernie and Denise's house seems to be like opening up Pandora's box and just seeing what flies out. So I felt that if I just went to the house with my laptop and said, okay, well, I'm going to write the next book, I don't think I truly would understand the house. That's why Denise and Ernie invited me, to come next weekend. So I'm going to be there observing, researching, and outlining the novel. So when I do go back to write it, I will take everything that I experienced and saw next weekend, and that's going to be the foundation for the book. And I didn't want to do These Walls Still Talk Part 2, where it's people trapped in a house running from ghosts, right? I've already done it. Right. So the packs have the crazy, all the other stuff surrounding it, and so it's like the perfect place to have a second book where I'm not duplicating or carbon copying what I already did in the first book.
Yeah. Plus, he just wanted to see me.
Probably.
Well, you told me I could be the big spoon this time. So, and I've been waiting to be the big spoon for a year, Rob.
Oh, you think you're going to be, but yeah, I mean, it sounds like that's all coming up on this. Is it this weekend?
Next weekend.
May 31st.
Following weekend on the 31st. So,
yeah, I fly out a week from tomorrow.
Wow. So I was gonna say, you guys are really busy because at the end of next month, end-ish, you have more stuff going on. You have a particular book that we just talked about that should be coming out?
Me? Oh yeah, the book release party is.
Yeah. All right. That's a book.
All right. I got distracted
by the way,
by.
Brian, so you wrote this book called These Walls Still Talk, and it drops middle end of next month. That what's on the bag. You made this book, and you're doing as opposed to just sitting at a bookstore. That guy right there. Yeah. Rather than sit at a bookstore and just scribble on a bunch of books and say thank you for coming, you decided to up the ante and go to the heart of the source. You go to the you're going to the Missouri State Pen.
Yep.
Where you have how are tickets? Can people still get them, or are you getting kind of dicey at this point?
Yeah. So tickets, so the tickets can be bought through Get Haunted's ticket. Whatever they use, but
you're a horrible manager, Brian.
Horrible, right? I don't want to say the wrong word because I don't want Rob
saying it's extremeticketing.com/tickets/These Walls Still Talk Missouri State Penitentiary and a whole bunch of numbers and whatever.
All right, Harry's hired. You're fired, Brian.
I don't ask these questions, Brian, because I don't know the answers. These are all everything I ask is rhetorical.
Yeah, you can go to gethaunted.com. If you click on events, it's also under
you
there.
Can go to
you
can go to brianpaone.com, and the banner of every single page on my website is a link to bring you to the ticket site. So
you can click in the comments that are
right there. Right, I'm looking this way. Yeah.
I would say whichever side they land.
Yeah.
Ryan said he's looking for the Get Haunted ticket thing, but it didn't come up.
He's being a comedian. Ryan,
yeah, he's being funny.
Yeah, Ryan thinks he's funny.
You don't even got to search. I made it lazy proof. You can click the link.
I think the book release party it was kind of a thing where me and Rob and Sara, I think it was born kind of organically of us just talking, right? Weren't we we were talking about the book because there wasn't, and then I think it just was one of those things like we should have the book release party at MSP. Can we do that? Can we pull that off? Yeah, let's, and then we just, when we presented it to Sheila, the prison boss at MSP, she was thrilled, so.
Yeah, it's an enormous location. We have 4 buildings, including the gas chamber there, which I don't particularly love the gas chamber, so I don't spend a lot of time down there. But we've got A Hall, which is the oldest building there. It was, built for Confederate prisoners, actually, and it's also where the dungeon is, where I sent Brian to do a live a pre-record video, as a promo. We sent sent him down into the dungeon.
The 2 places that I will not go by myself is the dungeon in 3D. I will not go there by myself. Somehow around week 6 of 8, Rob talked me into going down to the dungeon by myself. into the in your face cell, which is the furthest cell from the entrance. It is the blackest, darkest cell. And I set my camera up, and he emailed me a list of questions that he wanted me to answer. Right. And when I watch the video now, I can see the fear on my face. And
I don't even think we used it. Did we even use it, Brian? He got you to do it, but we never used it.
I deleted it.
To see if I would do it. But you watched me the whole video. I'm not looking at the phone. I'm looking over the phone at the doorway because I'm terrified. I just, like I'm not even looking. And I'm talking like an auctioneer at one point just to get through the answers, right? And then it's done. I grab my phone. That was the longest 3 minutes of my life. When I went upstairs, back to A-Hall, and I saw how long I had videoed for, I was like, that was only 3 minutes. I felt like I'd been down there for like 4 hours because every second like elongated.
It is terrifying down there. So thank you for doing that, Brian. But yeah,
so what are you guys getting into that day though? Or that evening, I guess it's not quite the day.
So you mean that night? Oh, you mean at the
I would say it's not quite that day. It's you guys are probably going to wake up, stretch, go to a diner, eat something, and then that's what you're going to do for the day. Nobody cares. What are you doing? Because it starts like sunset.
Yeah, so roughly late afternoon, right? We're gonna have a problem, and Sheila actually asked me for the itinerary today. And Sheila, if you're watching, I'm sorry, hon. I will get it to you tonight. But we're gonna have sort of a Q&A session in there early on, as the kickoff there in A-Hall with Brian and the guests and Get Haunted crew and people that are there. And then we're gonna do a regular kind of investigation where we break all of the attendees down into smaller groups, right? Because it's really hard to do an investigation with monster sized groups. So we break them into smaller groups. And when the beautiful part about Missouri is you could have 6-7 groups there and not even know that there are other people with you. And we'll send them off. We'll do some rotations around the prison with the different techniques and styles. And hey, Sheila, see, she's watching you. The different techniques and styles and methodologies that our people use. And we're probably going to throw Brian to the wolves a little bit and have him lead at least a couple experiments at some point.
Especially one in the dungeon. I hear that's his favorite place.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I was thinking that's where we should put him too. So it's sort of semi-structured, but guided, right? And then the second half of the night is what we call a free roam kind of situation where people can borrow our equipment, they can borrow us, but throughout we're going to have experiments happening in different sections so that, if somebody's struggling a little bit, they can be like, hey, I want to go try this. Or Brian may go to where he had some of his experiences and lead us a short investigation or experiment, if you will, in particular locations that are written about in the book. So we don't want to give too much away there, but there's going to be some really cool things.
So more or less, you're gonna show up. It looks like the event's going to kick off around 7, give or take. So around sunset, because that's when it gets really creepy. There's that dog. So you guys are going to kick things off. You're going to answer some questions, have a good time, get the party started. Probably have some light snacks and refreshments, and then everybody's going to go off and just try to do some spooky stuff and see something freaky. Hopefully, that's the plan.
Listen,
and buy some of Brian's books.
Yeah, buy a few books, couple Get Haunted shirts. Maybe
a lot of Get Haunted shirts.
Maybe
handful of hats.
Maybe a tote.
But Missouri MSP has their own gift shop. They have really cool stuff and like awesome hoodies, and which I need a new hoodie. But MSP is one of those places. I don't guarantee anything ever, but I've never been to Missouri State Penitentiary where somebody didn't walk out of there needing to catch their breath. You know what I'm saying? Needing like a moment to be like, what just happened? That's
I don't know. Maybe I'll have to come out there.
Yeah, see, you can't be the cooler, bro. You got to come out. We'll put you
out there, and I'll go. I told Brian, I said if I was able to swing the plane ticket and the time, I would go down there and walk just bold face into that dungeon. I can't guarantee how I'll come back out.
Yeah,
but allegedly, I'm going to come back out completely okay and be like, "What were you so scared of?" But I'm pretty sure I'll go in there and be like, so anyway, the restrooms are which direction, and I need a change of pants.
Yeah, walking in is the easy part. Not running out is the hard part. You know, it's just as Hannah just mentioned, the history there is insane. You know, you've got the museum aspect across the street, but you walk in, it's one of the most menacing places. Like when you pull up, you're just like, I'm going in there. It's like this medieval fortress looking.
And Brian, is that the one that's used on the book cover?
Yeah, so the front cover is the bottom part of the front cover. That's the entrance. That's what you see when you pull up. And believe it or not, they use green lights in the windows on the property. So even though that is doctored, you know, for a little bit more pop,
it's not a bit. Yeah,
it's not too far off.
No, it's not.
To include all the ghosts looking through.
Yeah, the ghosts looking through. You know, I really wanted to make sure in the book as an author that I nailed how that place feels when you approach it for the first time. Because I know that you know, there's gonna be a lot of people who read this book who will never get to MSP in person, right? And I really wanted to give them that sense of like looming ominousness that the building gives. You know, you can't describe. And you know, and I throughout the novel re-describe some of the buildings as they're going through them, because I really want the reader to get that feeling of
those are just massive straight walls.
Yeah, that's housing unit 3 right there. That's where Death Row and 3D is and stuff. But you know, I was in there so much alone, you know, when ghost tours and ghost hunts weren't coming through. So it was me and, you know, like the 2 staff members that may have been hanging out in the office, you know, having, you know, eating a snack. But I was walking. There was moments when I was alone at, you know, 11 p.m. standing with, you know, 3 to the right of me, 4 to the left of me. And you just go, my God, these buildings look like they're going to try to eat me. Like the buildings themselves felt alive, right? They have this, we're watching you feel at all times. So that was, I tried to put that in the book. I tried to give the reader that sense, that
claustrophobia, that suffocation feeling.
You feel very small next to those buildings. You feel like they're, when you walk into those doors, you feel like they're eating you. You know, it's the belly of the beast.
And
it sounds like a really awesome event. I like I said, it's something that I did look at my calendar and everything. I was like, I can't. I want to though, but maybe I'll do the creepy kid house one. You know, I'll come down there with you and keep you company. Big spoon. Sorry. I'll come down there and instigate the kids, and then I'll leave.
Yeah.
So I did have one random question before we wrap it up. So you mentioned that, and I know you've shown me the pictures and some of the evidence of the kids with the chalkboard. If you leave your laptop open to go, you know, I don't know, take a leak, go get a sandwich, whatever, what is the likelihood of them tapping on your keyboard, or do they just like talk?
Denise, Ernie, do you guys want either of you want to answer? Is there a chance that they're going to tap on my keyboard if I leave it open in the room?
Because I'm just thinking, like, if it's the laptop with opened up to Microsoft Word, what have you, is a communication medium.
Right.
Much like the chalkboard, a pen and a pad, whatever tool that you would use to communicate, or voice recorder, what have you. It's all the same thing, just different format.
So really quickly, like before, you know, if they're going to answer, at MSP, there was a night when I walked into A Hall to sit down to write, open my laptop with 100% battery. And I got, I don't know, an hour in and I was at 2%. And, you know, so MSP will drain your stuff. So let's see what they're saying here. The kids are very likely to type something. Okay.
Wonderful. I would have, you know what you should do, Ernie, if you're still watching, call Brian, leave your cell phone in the kids' room, and just we've done this experiment at different locations. You just put a phone up in an empty room and listen on the other end.
And see if you hear them in there. Oh. I would never go back in the room.
That's why you should do it.
I don't even need that laptop anymore. Just that's it.
Yeah, Denise. I actually think I showed Harry. Did I show you the picture? They balanced a marble on the side of a wooden box. The kids.
I haven't seen that one, but I would like to.
I can send you
You've been
that.
sharing me all the spooky stuff, and
I'll
I'm
text
all
you that
done.
photo. Yeah, they came home and they had balanced a marble. Like, well, it's wild. Like,
they're on a box. That's wild. But yeah, I honestly I think so Ryan has a good suggestion that it should be live streamed. Dude, if you don't go live from your Facebook page periodically, you don't got to do it constantly or have like a live, Brian cam. Brian crying in public cam. I think if you went live every once in a while, maybe you don't necessarily have to wait until you hear something or something spooks, because the second that you start to throw on the camera, that's when everything stops and typical. Just run it every once in a while, go live. Hey guys, I wrote a third of the book and I got some of this done, and see if anything happens in the background, just casually, not even like I'm going to try to catch something spooky. I think you should start doing that. Give us progress updates, day 3, and I have written this much of the book. I'm really excited on my progress. Just mundane, regular old stuff, but with a wide angle on that camera. And see if anything moves, if your camera falls, just stuff like that. Anything that would just add to the effect.
I was talking to Ernie on FaceTime and the door closed behind him. He was all alone.
Yeah. No, you told me about that. Like,
right? I was like, what the fuck?
And that's the stuff I think would be like, you're just sitting in there talking about like, yeah, so I wrote this. I'm really proud of chapter 7. I think you guys are really going to like it. And then the door just goes, and then that's it. Everybody watching is just going to be like, nope, I don't need this laptop. And they just set it on fire.
I can't kill Rob because there might be a book 3, right? So like at some point I got to be able to kill him off. And
okay. Like, why don't you auction it off?
Maybe why
don't you let one of my fans for a fee figure out how I die? And we're
I don't think you want to open that Pandora's
box. Choose your own adventure, like choose your own Rob death.
And Sarah, you're not allowed to play in this one.
Yeah, I don't think that Pandora's box should be open, because you're going to get some weird suggestions. And you're going to be like, how personal is this?
But Rob, earlier you were going to say something. I think like all of us cut you off at one point because I saw you go like this, and then you like. Do you remember what you were going to say?
Oh, just if this is it, MSP, back to MSP for one hot second. Sheila, Jenny, the entire crew there, they truly are the best part of the entire complex. Without them, none of this would happen. And they are the reason I fell in love with the location's awesome. The paranormal aspect, the historical aspects of it, but they are truly a second family to me. I know to Brian now to the point where I'm like getting jealous a little bit here and there. It's pissing me off. He's stealing my friends, Harry.
He does that.
They are some of the most wonderful people on this planet that you will ever meet. They love that building, all the buildings there, and the history of MSP, and they would do pretty much anything for it. I can't wait for Sara to meet them. I can't wait for I kind of can't wait for June 21st. I can wait for the drive because I am driving out there.
Oof. Yeah.
Someone has to bring all the merch while everyone else is in first class.
I heard there's a tote bag. Is there a tote bag this time?
Yeah, there's. Oh, this is the prototype. One of them.
We've never seen this tote bag
on the back.
Are you going to do that? Did you say you're going to put the Get Haunted logo on the back?
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm going to need
okay with that? Are you okay with that?
Oh my god, it's so awesome. Are you kidding?
Yeah, we're gonna do the bee in the skull on the back, and we're gonna do black versions of this, white natural. Yeah. We're gonna have shirts, we're gonna have it all.
And whatever you got left over, if you get, for whatever reason, I'm pretty sure all those bags and shirts, the hats, everything will go. Bring it to Frightreads. I guarantee you that people will beat the door down to get this stuff out here.
Oh, we're gonna have
Maryland has a ton of, you guys, might have to, on your way in, stop by some of the historical haunted stuff nearby out in Ellicott City and some of the areas in Columbia that are haunted. They got a lot of really neat stuff out there, like old timey, just spooky stuff.
Awesome.
So it'll be a good time.
I'm excited to see the DeLorean finally.
Thank you again for having us, Harry.
Yeah.
Like truly honored. Totally appreciate. We won't mess it up. I got to do this with Heather Graham. Was that last year? She invited us down to help with her. She had a book writing convention, and we stayed in like the Hotel Monteleone in New Orleans, and we did like an investigation with all the writers. It was really cool because we had a lot of writers that write paranormal, romance or fiction, who never really interacted with the community on a level like that. Like we literally did a ghost hunt with them, and they loved it. We were able to answer some questions and give them some ideas. So I think we're gonna make a cool addition. Unfortunately, I know we have to sit next to Brian, but
I know. Well, that was,
it's what it is.
He said that would be the best punishment for you guys. I didn't agree with that, but
The DeLorean.
you guys.
I
think it's the DeLorean's the only saving grace. But you guys will be there. We're gonna have an awesome group of people. You mentioned Heather will be there. She'll be up there with Caprico's books, hanging out with some fantastic authors in that little cul-de-sac. I'll try to put you guys in a respectable distance so you guys can hang out with each other and bug each other. But cool. we're looking forward to an investigation panel where you guys do basically this, but on a stage in front of a bunch of people, and tell some cool stories. It's gonna be a blast. So if anybody is still watching, I'm sure you guys are, go to frightreads.com, see all of the great guests, see all of these wonderful people. Check out, I put up a bio, and if that's not enough, click their link. Go view what they wrote, what they did, where they were at, what they acted in, whatever respective medium that they've done. Check them out and get your tickets and come support all of these amazing artists, actors, talented investigators of any sort. We're going to have a blast. It'll be fun. September 13th and 14th at the Howard County Fairgrounds. It's going to be a blast. So thank you both so much. Thanks a lot, Brian. But seriously, thank you three for taking some time out and entertaining some questions and all of these great people that chimed in. And I look forward to seeing you guys in person in a couple of months.
Same. Thank you.
Same.
Thanks everybody for watching. See you next week.
Bye.